Welcome to Art with Ian. This is episode 10 in the real-time painting series. And I'm considering potentially going for longer than an hour today and just trying to finish this painting. Or maybe I'll do one more episode after this and it'll just go for as long as it needs to go to finish. I'll decide when I get there. I might just do an hour this time and then the next episode will be whatever is left. We'll just work on it till it's done, kind of a thing. Because I think I need to wrap this series up. As much fun as I've been having working on this painting, just being casual, taking my time, enjoying it and everything. I think this is we're kind of getting to the end of the road as far as people wanting to continue watching episodes about the same painting. So, all right. So let's look at where we're at here. Gotten a pretty good ways with the rendering of Link. The background we haven't worked on in a while. It's still got some pretty basic rendering happening in a lot of areas. I know I talked about the Link's hair yesterday, so I think maybe we'll just quickly start there and just kind of have a look at the hair. I think a lot of it is actually the shape more than it is the rendering. I mean, the rendering could stand to be brought up another couple levels, but I think getting a little bit of leg, so I'm gonna purge real quick. Hopefully that'll deal with that. Okay, so I think, might have gotten rid of a little too much of the dark in here, for one thing. But I think more importantly, even than that, is that I think his hair actually comes down much quicker. I've got it kind of going back, and I think it actually comes down like this. And you actually see the front of his bangs. That feels like a pretty stark change. I almost feel like I should be doing this on its own layer. Even though I firmly believe in what I'm doing here, I am going to do it on its own layer. Just because I like a safety net sometimes when I'm making big changes. So we'll do that. And you know what? I think I'm going to merge down the stuff that I did before, just to commit to that. So that we only have one new layer, one layer of stuff that wasn't there before. So it doesn't start getting out of control. Okay, so I think I want his hair to kind of do this thing. And this side kind of be a little bit in shadow. And then push this going up here into light. And then this side obviously is in shadow. Gotta find the angle coming down this way. Now I still want to do some hair brushing across his face. But let's get this basic shape down first and then look at that. Okay, let's go to the just link layer. Let me change my eraser to, I'm just using the soft round eraser here, just because it's hair, I don't want it to be like a super hard edge. And let's make some of that roundness on the outside go away. And also carve a little bit of a hard edge into this peak of his hair here. Still not actually looking at a reference, which has been kind of my MO for this, is trying to paint his face out of my mind. But like I said in the last episode, if you watched that one, when I was looking at references for the shield, I couldn't help but see his face in quite a few shots. And it felt quite clear to me that I had missed my mark on the shape of his hair by too far of a margin to really, I couldn't live with it. So here we are, making a change. I'm just showing some light hitting this angle change right here, this plane change, because I think that it would hit right there. And let's see if we can find a way to maybe get our nuances back in here without taking too much time. And this is the kind of thing I've probably mentioned a lot in this series at this point. This never stop working on the overall, no matter how much time you spent. I didn't spend a ton of time on his hair, to be totally honest, but it doesn't, even if I had, I wonder if I should try it for that shape over here as well, maybe with the environment color. Even if I had taken a long time on it, if it wasn't right, it wasn't right. And I think that that's an incredibly important headspace to try and get into, where you don't, if you don't try to keep something around that is kind of wrong, or you don't try to make excuses for something in your painting that feels wrong because you worked hard on it. That has nothing to do with its value. It has value in the fact that you spent time on it. It has even more value if you recognize that it is flawed and fix it, right? Because then you have a memory of being willing to work hard and also being willing to admit that that you needed to make a change, that you didn't get it right the first time. It's perfectly fine to not get things right the first time. I'm actually also an author as well as an artist, and one of the big key things that you have to learn if you want to be an author, or if you want to write books that are fairly decent, is that the first thing you write tends to not be great. It probably, hopefully, is getting the core story down, but it's going to be lacking a lot of the polish and quality of what your later drafts will look like, because you can only get so much out of yourself per moment of what you're working on. Like each time you sit down to work on something, you bring a fresh mind, you bring fresh energy, and you can bring things to a much higher level when you continue to work at them beyond your initial kind of excitement or drive to work on a thing. I've had a few friends in life who have had a lot of energy going into a project that they end up chasing the next exciting thing before they really finish. And the thing that they were so excited about not that terribly long beforehand, and they end up with not having that much finished work to show because they spend more of their time chasing the shiny new ideas than they did, doing the grindy part where no matter how hard it gets, no matter how challenged you feel by something, you just keep going until you know that you've done everything you can to make that the best thing, the best version of whatever it was you set out to do that you possibly can. Okay, let's try now taking some of this and having it actually come across his face. Not sure about that one there. Might have gotten too blowy, the wind doesn't, I don't want the wind to feel too strong, There's the color I want. Okay, there's another thing that's been bugging me, and it's actually been bugging me for a long time, actually, and that's his ears. I never got them right. I was trying to show the tilt of his head, and it just never worked. So what I'm gonna do, actually, I think I'm gonna commit to the change of his hair and just merge that down. I still have rendering to do on it, but I'm just gonna merge it down. And I'm going to go into... I almost wonder if I should go into the liquify tool. Maybe not. No, I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to do each ear separately here. So Control T. I'm going to start with the skew tool. And using the skew tool, I'm going to just push his ear up a little bit. Then switching to free transform and holding down shift, I'm going to squeeze his ear in. And let's see here. Do I want to do a little bit more? Using the distort tool, I'm going to push up a little bit more. And then using the arrows, like arrow up, when you have something selected in the free transform setup like this, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move things in a more nuanced way. So arrow up right now is what I'm using. I'm going to push this ear up to kind of between the ear is between your nose and your brow, right? And so that's where, and he has an elf ear, it's a little different than a human ear, but I'm going to still kind of put it in that region. And I'm going to call that way better than this weird Dobby ear thing that I've had going this whole time. I have no idea I don't know what made my sketching self think that was working, but I've had about enough looking at it. So, okay, I'm going to skip the skew tool this time. I'm just going to go straight to distort. I think distort's going to get me do most of the things I want to do all at once. So I'm just going to go with that. Really powerful tool. His hair is actually coming out farther on this side, so I need to make sure that I'm not just poking it out the same amount and not looking at his actual face, right? I need to look at his face as the place this ear is growing out of and show the amount according to that. I think somewhere in there is just about fine. Doesn't need to be like perfectly symmetrical. And then go in here and paint his hat back in. And I think the shape of this ear just needs I can't quite get it all the way there with just warping stuff, so I'm gonna actually paint. And I will say, as much as the tools in Photoshop are wonderful and can do lots of cool things, as painters, if that's what you want to be and not a photographer or whatever else kind of a thing, we should mostly be trying to solve our problems with paint. I actually think this here could stand to get clipped up some too. So I'm just gonna start the initial shape and then pull my eraser up. And that honestly feels a million times better than the floppy Dobby ears. I don't know, I can't help but call them Dobby. They felt like Dobby ears to me. I don't know, they were terrible. But I was trying to work on other things in the piece and kind of ignored them for a long time, until I just couldn't ignore them anymore. Once I started looking at the face, like before I started this episode, and I was like really looking at what I wanted to do with the hair and whatnot, I couldn't unsee how bad those ears were. So anyways, I'll stop hating on them now because they're better. So let's put a little bit of color from the environment in this part of his hair. Keep it subtle. I'm not sure if this is gonna work on this side the way it does on the other side. Like right here, I quite like the way this feels on this side, but on this side it just feels like it's not really merited. Like I don't know if the environment light's really bright enough to do that. Yeah, I'm not sure about it. Just paint it out for right now. Put a little here where we get a plane change right there. Maybe his bangs are a little too long as well. I'm going to stop this hairline right here, I think. Okay. Just trying to find the shape here. Probably need to take some of the rim lighting off that hat because it's just like losing its silhouette too much right now, I think. There we go, it's better. Try and stay a little more subtle with the ambient light coming across there into his hair. Just for now, let's try and get this shape, find this shape. Okay. Let's see here. This shadow color is probably going to be a good one to just introduce a little bit of this hair coming over some of the plane changes of his face. And I'm going to create a new layer in case I don't like these shadows, and I'm actually going to change my brush as well. Let's go get the oil and acrylic brushes, the MA number 1-2 that I've been using a lot in this series, and start to build up some shadow from his hair here. I also want to get into this area under his chin. And first of all, I'm going to take this, I'm going to cool it off and go a little deeper. I think I want to bring his chin up some. And then what I want to do is I want to paint reflected light from his shirt under his chin here in a moment. I'm trying to get this transition right here. So I want to paint from this up under here, right? But I need to get this line right first. Need to make sure I don't go too bright with this. But what I want to do essentially is show this part of his face right here. This connecting from the jaw to the neck. This might be too saturated. It's pretty desaturated. It just feels really cool because we've got it against all these warm flesh tones and stuff. And that's a topic for a different type of video about color theory. Okay, starting to feel like that plane really exists properly now. Let's go back into our warms. Well, it's actually quite cool, but it's warm compared to this. And just work on the nuances of this. Probably need to zoom out to actually really work on the nuances of it properly, but I think for right now, fairly satisfied. I also want to bring a little bit more environment reflected light into here, but not get carried away. And just start to show less hard plane changes between his jaw and his neck and all this stuff here, right? Fascinating. What the heck? Do I have a layer above all this? Is that what's going on? Aha. Is that what it is? No. Where are you? Interesting. I wonder why that was behaving like that. I was getting what felt like I was painting underneath a layer, but I guess not. That was kind of strange. When we were fixing the hat earlier, we lost our reflected light. Well, actually, it was our bounce light in this case, which is kind of the same thing, I guess, actually. And we lost our texture as well. You can see when we zoom in here. So I'm going to go grab my texture brush really quick. And get a fairly light-ish color. Actually, I'm going to start with a dark color. Then go to a lighter color. Okay. Using that texture brush to actually paint on some of that rim light. Got a hard edge going right here. I'm actually going to commit to this layer, I think. Hold on, actually. Let me look under his chin. Yeah, I think so. Merging that down. I'm just going to take my eraser and clean this up a little bit right here. Okay. Let's paint this back in. Essential brushes. Okay, I'm going to go back to this brush, which is the number 3-11, if you got these brushes and you've been following or, you know, using them kind of a thing. Is that too dark? Maybe. And just indicating some nuances in the hair. I'm trying to toe the line between semi-realism and still having the video game's design language hold up, which can be really hard in certain areas where hair is doing things that hair doesn't actually do. And that's why I'm taking so much time with this, because I'm trying, you know, it's a really difficult kind of tightrope to walk. Of wanting it to feel like the video game character without feeling just completely fake. Okay, I think probably need to get just a little bit, and I mean a little bit of a hint. Oof, I don't know if that's gonna work. It's too much, I think, maybe. I don't know. That's a toughie. Trying to figure out how much of this should bounce up there. I think one key factor is in how much we sell the light hitting it. So let's actually do a little bit more of that. Let's see here. I think I want to have like a... This brush is just wrong for this, so I'm going to stop using it. Maybe have like a fold, another one of these folds like on this side. I think probably some of this is just dappled light got into here, which is fine. It's just maybe restore a little bit of the light on this. Let's darken this up right here and create like a way more nuanced shadow here. I think this here could stand some extra love. I want to pull this off of his neck a little bit, and we're going to do that by getting darker in here and showing that it's kind of spaced off a little bit. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Putting a little bit of the environment color in his hair where it flips up a little bit right here at the edges. Yeah, okay, let's look at this here. I think maybe we want to break that brow crease up some. Just got maybe a little too much there. And we could go a little deeper in some places, I think, too, with this. I'm not sure if I want to get necessarily caught up in his face right now. That might be a different episode. Going back into his face. But what time do we have? 40 minutes? I really wanted to get to the environment this time, and I never did get there. But, you know, his hair was kind of a challenge because it was bothering me, and well, you know, it's like I said, you know, it's this weird thing where I'm trying to nod to the game and also not have his hair feel like completely and utterly fake. So it's just, yeah, it's weird. Let's go in and enforce our light here. Alrighty then. Maybe a little bit along the edge of his head or his hair here. And maybe a couple of these edges flipping up into the light some. Hopefully that's an improvement from what we had before. It's always hard to tell when you're too close to something. You guys will be the judge, I suppose, if I've actually gotten anywhere decent with this. I'm going to merge this down though, so we're all on one layer. Okay, we're at 43 minutes. I'm gonna, I think, just leave link for now and look at the environment. These two trees in the front here, the main trees, they feel pretty boring to me. So before I start working behind them, I think it would probably make sense to create something. What's this? It says old. Weird. Probably makes sense to look at these front trees first and then work behind them. So I'm going to take my chalky render brush and just see about adding a limb or two. Can I buy that? Yeah, I think just about. Okay, so that's a little better already from that one. Okay, let's look at this one. Gotta be careful we don't make it do the exact same thing as the other one, which is the temptation of symmetry, as I think I spoke about in one of the previous episodes. Like humans love to make patterns. We love symmetry. We use it all the time, and in a lot of cases it's great. But when you're trying to have, two natural looking trees, the last thing, well, not necessarily the last thing, if you're trying to make something that very purposely looks like a almost uncannily human made archway of trees, then fair enough. But if you want it to look like just two trees growing in the woods, the only thing they have in common, if they're the same species, or the only thing they will have in common necessarily is being the same species and trying to get to the sun. They're growing towards the sun, and so they're yeah. Anyways. I'm not sure if I'm liking that branch there. Maybe those two branches feel too, yeah, we'll just kind of do stuff. We'll cover it with leaves. When in doubt, cover it with leaves. Okay, these trees definitely feel more interesting already. I want something now. Okay, I'm going to leave these. I'm just going to call these foreground branches. Okay, I'm going to create a layer over the top of the background behind those, and I want to just show that there's another tree of a similar type kind of back like here. And growing up and off canvas. Maybe it's got a branch that comes up like that. Okay, now then, let's see here. What are we gonna do with these trees? They're very, very rough indications, and they feel quite colored, like too blue, too green. They're not that far away necessarily, and if we do want to push them back, we can do that later. So let's establish a little bit more of a believable color for them. This is probably too dark. I'm gonna go into here, and we can lighten this up pretty soon here in a moment if we need to, but I'm just gonna go with this right now. And if you look at what color I'm using right now, this probably feels pretty brown. I mean, if you see what I see, it probably feels pretty gray, but it also probably feels pretty brown. It's not even remotely brown. Look at the color that I'm using, It's very green, very yellow, and very gray. It's in the gray, that is what I mean to say. Okay. Do I want one back here? Probably not. I want this to be where his sword hand is, and the sword and everything. I want the silhouette to have a nice read on it. These two back here, I think are actually okay. I'm just gonna go a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit darker, and then flesh them out some. That obviously needs to stay behind the other one, but I'll fix that in a second. Maybe not quite that low. There you go. This needs to be probably a little wider. Okay, I'm going to come across to this side, and I need to be really careful how dark I go with this. Don't want to go too dark, but if I go too light, then we feel like we're seeing nothing, right? So just trying to find a nice happy middle ground. Just going to establish that a couple of these a little bit more notably back here. Time do I have? 52. Okay, I think this needs to be closer to the foreground. These ones. Just a little bit, and the way that I'm doing that is browning them up a little bit. Or making them feel more brown in contrast, you know, in the environment. I'm not painting with, I mean, look at what color I'm using. It's nothing remotely like actual brown. Let's look at what real like actual brown would look like on here. Here's like a brown. Nice rich brown. That's not even a rich brown, that's just like a middle of the road. See how fake that looks? Anyway, this isn't really a lesson on color theory, but it's worth at least pointing out, like, you know, pay attention a little bit to where the colors are. Like, if you, I don't know if you're paying attention or have been paying attention during this series to, you know, when I don't say what color I'm using, if you just every now and again glance over and look, but it's probably a good idea to do if you're interested in that kind of thing for your own work, like how to find colors or what colors, you know, actually look like you want the color to look in the environment specifically that you're working on. I'm going to take this light color from the front tree, and we're just going to assume that there's light finding its way through to these other trees, and they're enjoying a little sun as well. Also gonna hit a couple spots on my I hit a couple spots here on my other tree additions. Okay, what this adding this little dappled light does is it starts to make it feel like this whole place exists together. The same light that hit the trees in the front is also finding its way through the canopy and hitting trees behind. And it's not just, we don't have just like some, you know, a cutoff point where the environment stops behaving like it would behave if it was all coexisting. But we're putting in a little less detail back here because we don't want the viewer to be seeing detail back here. Now I'm going to try this same color on the trees behind, and it might be totally wrong. It might be too warm. And it definitely is. So it feels just too pink. So what I'm going to do is go get my environment color from back there and go much grayer and lighter with it. And we're going to use that to continue showing dappled light in little places back in the background. I'm not sure about that one. It's not really working for me. Oof. This is just too bright is what it is. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I think I want to hit like the light even warmer in some places. So I'm gonna have a go with that. Gonna create a new layer. And let's see here. Just gonna try this MA Brush 8-3 that I've used in the past. And let's just feel this out. Can always erase away some areas if we don't like what's happening. I just want to see about pushing the brightness of the environment up some. Just like I work slowly with the shadow and build up, I also want to be building up with my light and not letting it feel like too kind of middle of the road contrast wise. Okay, so let's assume if we're getting hit pretty hard with light here, let's just assume that we also have some lights hitting pretty hard in through here. Let's see, do I want to actually just push his silhouette like by having that all get pushed into light there? Possibly. We'll see about how much of that I keep. We can always add nuance to it. Also, like I've been talking about, the environment continues down in here. You know, I'm well, maybe an episode ended or I was caught up in something else, but down in here you can see I kind of just never kept going. And we want light, nice and sparkly around this deep shadow. That makes that deep shadow feel like it has viable, like it feels like it can actually be real. Let's go get a real bright green. Whoa, I didn't get what I wanted. There we go. Where this transitions onto the grass, I'm just gonna put a little bit of the light like so. And you gotta be really, really careful with these super bright greens because things can get out of control really quickly, in my opinion, with them. But I just want this to feel, I want this place to feel sunbathed up here around Link, and we can completely abandon, push back, and you know, do whatever we want as far as how far we let this go. So for now, I'm just in push it in mode, and then I can kind of decide as I, you know, step back and look how much of it I actually want to keep and how much of it I think is potentially too much, and so on and so forth. But at my instinct right now is telling me that this is definitely adding the kind of sparkle to the piece that I had in my head when I got started. I wanted this to feel like a high contrast, really pretty, sparkly, sun-bathed, dappled light kind of little grove where he's, you know, he's whatever he was fighting, moblins or whatever he was fighting, and he's gotten away from that and stopped to use a fairy. Speaking of the fighting bit, we are going to still be adding signs of that fight, like blood, a bloody lip, probably some scratches on his face, maybe a cut in his undergarments, you know, that kind of stuff. But that's all like really late. Oh, we've gone over an hour. I got caught up. What do you know? I got caught up with this environment. Really quickly check my eraser. Just texturize this by randomly erasing away. Anyways, yeah, we're going to show battle, battleware to him, like after we finish, like really get it where we want, kind of a thing. Because tertiary details or like really late details like that don't contribute to getting the actual, in my opinion, they're like late stage details that I don't want to be distracted by right now. So anyways, we've gone over an hour. We're at an hour, almost an hour and 5 now. So I'm going to wrap this one up. In the next episode, I think maybe I'm just going to finish the painting, and it'll be a longer episode, and it'll just however long it takes me to finish, because I want to wrap this series up. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give this one a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, ring the bell for notifications of future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.